In this episode, we dive into our first hidden gem of the series. Today, we talk about Eternal, the deck builder. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Dude, Where's My Cards? Today we are going to talk about Eternal, Chronicles of the Throne. I am Brendan, and of course I'm joined by Jordan once again.
Hey guys.
And this is our first, in my opinion, true gem of a game that people are not going to totally know about, but at the same time, they should.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones where we genuinely just walked by a booth, found it.
Yeah, this is Gen Con 2019. Walking around, they say, here's a promo, come sit down, play it. What do? We play a game and we turn around and we say, that's the price?
I think we played 3 games.
Oh,
we played the digital game.
2 or 3, and we bought it and we took it home that night and we played it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, we actually walked by their booth. They had the big TVs.
It was the digital game we played first, and they say, hey, do you want to play a deck builder version of this?
We just made this.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, we came up, the screens on either side. We saw we could play each other right on, just standing across from each other. And we said, yeah, we love card games. Yeah, we love playing against each other. Started playing it.
And it's weird because I wasn't that impressed with the digital version of the game because it was a Magic Hearthstone kind of cloney kind of game. And let's play deck builder. Sure, why not? Let's see what it's all about. And I thought the deck builder shone much brighter than the game itself.
I 100% agree with that, and we'll go into it a little bit deeper. But so we're looking at Eternal, Chronicles of the Throne. This is episode number 3 for us.
Number 3.
Like Brennan said, our first true gem. Again, we kind of go into our rubric. Again, giving it more of a design background as much. We do have some ratings in our actual enjoyment of the game. But we try to look at it very much as a designer perspective as well as the players. So, impression category for us. Brennan, theme-wise, what did you feel when you played this game?
So after looking at our last episodes and see what I gave stuff, I give this one a 4. And do I think I might have been cutting short on this one? No, I might have been pumping up someone else a bit too high.
So I agree with you. I also gave the theme here a 4.
But this is generic themed fantasy.
It is, but it was familiar but different enough for me that I gravitated onto it. It had that ooh, this is cool. I looked at the cards, I looked at the imagery on the everything, and it was a theme that I could get into.
Yeah, and it's sure, but as I was saying, it's a generic theme fantasy, which I'm always going to rate high on because I enjoy generic theme fantasy.
Yeah.
But for me to get to a 5, it's almost got to be a popular IP.
Yeah, and that's where I say it's a 4 because it's
that's
not...
That's why it's a 4 to me.
I almost feel like I should have rated it higher because it's not an IP. Maybe I'm giving it a bias on these IPs, but it was...
See, but also to me, if there was a tangible... interesting story attached to it, a lore, just reason why these characters exist, why they do something that's a lot of work. I don't blame them for not having this for a $25 game that we bought.
That's true. And that when you get into it, that's where the IPs have the benefit. They have a story to go with these characters more in. But like I said, I've got it as a 4 as well. I really, really like the art style of the cards, and I, going into a little bit, I won't give a tidbit, but we'll talk about the design of it as well and the art style. But the theme-wise, the character-wise, when I looked at it, I said, yeah, cool, I can get on board with this. I'm in. So it's a 4. Rules, what did you kind of have rating for the rules? And this, try to think of just what we had for that, the actual deck builder itself. When I looked at it, when we learned the game together... Mind you, we had the benefit of having the lady there who designed the game.
A lovely person who is helping instruct us.
I don't think we actually needed... She was helping, there's 12 of us at this table. I don't think we had to call her over for much.
No.
And she didn't read the rules to us. She just verbally gave us a definite... And for me, if someone can explain to me a game in less than 5 minutes and I can play it fundamentally the same,
I think
it's got to be good.
Thing that... we didn't get right away that once she told us how to use it was the warp mechanic. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, I believe so. There was the one mechanic that was very confusing, and it's got a different combat system than a lot of games. But it was pretty easy to explain.
If every game you just had to learn a new combat system, but the cards are familiar, that's good.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The warp was the one. And whether or not cards got to stay on the board due to the wording, there was like not an eternal wording, but there was another ability that allowed a card to stay.
It lasted.
A lasting effect. Those ones were a little bit more this is different. How does this exactly work, and what's the follow through? Like, what's the order of operations? Was a little bit more vague, but we hadn't read the rules at that time.
Yeah.
We were only going on her explanation. Once we read the rules are pretty easy. They're pretty straightforward. So I gave it a 4. I have it on.
I gave it a 5. That might be a bit too high because of the bias of having someone who literally verbally taught us to it. So it's probably closer to a 4.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I've ever truly gone through the rule book for the game from front to back.
Yeah.
Because it was, by the time we got it home, it was open it, sleeve it, let's start playing. The moment you run into something confusing, that's when you go and you dissect that part of the rule book. You don't read the whole thing just for the sake of reading
verbatim. Yeah, I've had, since then, teaching a few other people, so I've had them read it and then understand the game, so I know that it's good. Like, I've skim read it, but I've had people actually read it to understand it, and they seem to read it. So I'm at a 4 for that. Design and art, Brendan, what do you think of the design wise and the general art of it? I've already kind of touched on the art a bit, but
this one actually enjoyed from an aesthetic aspect and from a functional aspect. I give it a 5.
Okay, well, like I had said, and I've said earlier, the 5s are really going to have to do something to impress me, so I'm giving it a 4.
Yeah, that's logical. There definitely is not the wow factor.
It's something I've seen before. It's Hearthstone.
It's a nod and saying, all right, this is pretty good. It's not the wow. And to me, the reason why I gave it the 5 was because of the layout of the important information and how it's used within the game. Like, it's all very accessible information. There is never a point where I look at a card and I don't know what
it does,
the information is not used or not used for.
And the text is all very clear. It's all very short. There's no long, wordy definitions in these cards.
And the important words, if I recall, were bolded.
Yes.
So you always know when there's an aspect coming up. And once you know what that aspect means, then you never have to really care about what the rest of it does.
Yeah. And it was very much like it only usually had one bolded word. Yeah. Like, the cards were very simple in that sense. Not saying that the game is simple, but the cards were simple to understand and under grasp. So it's a 4. It was really good there. The design, the layout of the cards, the art style, it was good. It's stuff that I've seen. It was done really well for, a minor party. Like, this isn't a big corporate identity throwing out cards. It's not Wizards of the Coast. It's Direwolf. They've done things.
They've gotten pretty big. They've done some really big things lately.
But not when they started this. This was one of their first dives into. I think they had one other board game at that time.
Yeah.
But this is their first true dive into a deck builder, and I think they did a wonderful job at it. And from what it was, it's a 4. It's right there. It's nothing super like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this or had this done before, for the theme and art style for me.
Yeah.
The complexity of the game. Again, for me, I'll start. This one is, I don't give 5s very easily, but I gave it a 4. I think that it's perfectly fitting for what it was. I just don't think it, like I said, it's hard for me to give a 5 unless I very passionately felt about something. So it's a 4. It was very well done. I just didn't instantly go, oh my god, this is amazingly done. Like, it's great. I enjoyed the game, but I wasn't, like, taken back by it type of thing.
Oh, apparently I'm a bit more slutty than you. I let the 5s out because I give this one another 5.
And I arguable, like I say, it is worthy of it, but I'm trying to really save those.
Giving a 5 isn't it's something I need to save. It's a score. It's like going to school. If a kid gets 100%, they get 100%. Or in this case, if they get between 81 and 100%, they get a 5. And that's just kind of the way I look at it. And the complexity of the game is, to me, right where it needs to be. Because there are some aspects of the game that are extremely simple. Mm-hmm. And there's some aspects of the game that are a little bit more difficult. But the aspects that they did simplify should be the harder aspects. And the aspects that are hard or are easy are a little bit harder. So it kind of meets that neutral ground to me where it's just like, okay, so this game is a little bit more... There's a bit more substance to this than some other card games I've played.
Definitely. And I was very impressed, especially on our initial and even replay of this game. I've been impressed. Mm-hmm. Going into our game category of this gameplay, I gave it a 9. Again, it's an amazing game. It's really, really enjoyable. The idea of it being a deck builder, making it, you'll see it follow through in the replayability, but I really enjoy deck builders in the sense that, like, no two games are the same.
So I have to be totally honest. This was, I think, my first true exposure to a deck builder.
Okay.
I had never really sought out deck builders because deck builders to me didn't ever really hit the strategy combat side of things. Deck builders usually ventured off into a slightly different realm of doing things. Mm-hmm. Deck builders were like Aeon, where you're kind of combating, but you're not really in traditional sense of strategy card games like Magic, like Yu-Gi-Oh, like Pokemon, where it's that that feeling of battle.
You're consuming a X amount of damage and dealing X amount of damage to this, and then it sweeps.
Or there's a resource system that requires, like, to me, that's what the strategy card game's true core is I need to use a resource to play a card. I need to manage all of this situation appropriately to do well. Mm-hmm. I still give it a 9.
Yeah.
This is where my belt comes on. Chastity belt. Just lock that thing right up.
It's hard to give that 10.
For me to give a 10 to a gameplay, I have to be playing it right now. And I have to have been playing it for a long time.
And there's so because we're nerds, we don't just play card games. We're big strategy game fans. This doesn't just end at the card game. So for me, when I look at a game,
but
gameplay,
there's very few even video games that I would give a 10
for me, it would be like the only one for me is Smite. I played Smite for 5 years. I have over 187 days logged on that game. Like, gameplay is high. For you, I know, like, League and stuff like that's been a pretty big...
I've played a lot of League. I would not give League a 10.
Okay, that's good. So then, like, that gives it an idea of, like, there's very few things for me that would ever be a 10. And like, I'm hoping one day we come across
the most hours I've ever spent in a game is Guild Wars.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I remember you were, like, top tier in that.
I absolutely love Guild Wars. I don't even know if I'd give that a 10.
Okay, so you're like me with the 5s in the impression categories.
There's always just enough of something that brings it down a peg.
Okay.
One of my very few 10s is something we'll talk about down the road. I have listed on the list.
So you have a 10? I'm not even sure yet. Maybe we'll see. That's interesting. That's fun for me. We do these blind, guys, so I don't know what he's putting for his. He doesn't know what I'm putting for mine. So it's fun because I get to hear what his opinions or games are.
And I'll be very interested to hear your opinion on what my 10 is because I know you've never played it because a lot of people have never played it.
Okay. I'm excited. Look at that. Stay tuned.
It's also a video game.
So gameplay 9.
9.
We go.
It's good.
We're good. We're both happy with that, and we're saying that 10 is a very almost unattainable rate. So 9 is good, very good. Depth for me again is in the middle. I put it at a 3.
Okay.
For me, none of the games that we've reviewed so far I felt necessary to give more than a middle depth. And for me, this game, because it's a deck builder, because there's so much RNG to some of the things, it doesn't rank up higher. I think maybe I should have maybe done a 4 here. I feel it's a little bit more deeper than the 2 games we've played. But again, it kind of just, when I looked at it initially doing these reviews on it, I just went middle. It's not bad. It's not super deep.
And I hit 4.
Yeah?
Like, I looked at it and I said, this game has a lot more going for it. Every time you play it, you're doing something different. You're trying to do a different strategy. There's another aspect of the game, but that has to do with the RNG you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Is that depth or is that RNG? And I think it's a combination of both.
Both.
Like, every time you play the game, there's something different you have to do to win. There's never the same win condition, because the cards you see every time is different. And that's the beauty of the deck builder.
And that's, yeah, I 100% agree with that, but a lot of the times there are, these, we'll say 15 cards that they come up,
the depth
of
strategy may be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But to me, the depth of gameplay...
Yeah, okay. I see what...
Yeah.
And that's where I agree that maybe I should have been a 4 on this one. Looking at it, thinking about it, it's easier to think about a game as I'm talking to you with it. This one maybe deserved a little bit more depth than I was giving it. Because like you said, no two games are the same.
But maybe that 3.5 is where it should be. And we just kind of went to either side of where it was.
Okay, so then looking at our post-play categories, Brennan, the replayability of this game for you, what was it? What do you think? As your first time as a deck builder experience, what was the replay for you?
The belt is out.
Oh, the belt was out?
The chastity belt's not giving away 10s.
Okay.
But it's giving the 9s.
Okay, 9. That's understandable. Like, we played a lot of this game, and there's no time that anyone wants to play this game. I'm saying no.
It's just so short. It's so simple to play.
Short, sweet, and simple.
but the combat is satisfying. The strategy is satisfying. Buying cards at the right time is satisfying. I mean, yes, like any deck builder, there's going to be frustrating times where you don't get the right cards to purchase the cards you want, or maybe you have some useless cards in your deck, and that's just going to happen, and I understand that. But it's still fun.
Yeah. For me, I have it at an 8. Reason it being 8 is this game is always, like, every day, any day, somebody wants to play this game, I will play it.
Yep.
Will I play it more than 3 times? Back to back? No. I'm not going to grind out hours and hours and hours of this game. It is enjoyable,
so
but...
the experience I have with the game, I don't have 3 and 4 player experience. I have just me and you playing it.
That's also true.
I don't know how that would change my perspective. Maybe if I were playing it and we had a group of 4 people, I would play 4, 5, 6 games if someone enjoyed it. But you probably have a bit more experience with what that's like, and maybe I'm taking a wrong side on that. Maybe playing with 3 or 4 people makes the game slower, and that makes you do your 1 or 2, and then you go... So that's a fun game. Great. Thank you. Let's move on to the feature. And
that's kind of where it sits. It's very replayable for me. This game is great, but it gets a little bit lower than not getting to that 10 because it's not replayable in the sense that I want to play it back to back.
Yeah, it's a fun game to play when you have time.
Yes.
It's not something you're going to sit 3 hours out of your day.
It's not my theme. It's not my, hey, are you guys coming over to play Eternal? It's not, hey, are you guys coming over to play this? Let's pregame with Eternal.
Yeah, or it's a let's come over and play this. Oh, we're waiting for X and Y to show up. We got 3 people. Let's do Eternal.
Like, I'm going to pull this game out. I'm going to get people playing it, but I'm not going to play hours and hours of it, which is why it's only at an 8 for me. It is replayable in the sense I always want to play a game or 2.
Yep.
But it limits itself to I only want to play a game or 2.
And it's not so complicated that if you only play a game here or there, that you're going to fall off. Like, no. You know what's going on. You know what the mechanics mean. The cards say what their mechanics
everything
do.
In one box. It's that one box game, that deck builder again, which is where we go into our next thing, cost satisfaction. I give this a 5. This is, like I said, I don't give them off even. This game, for its value, it's worth it. It is, $20-25 American we spent on this game. I would buy like 6 of them for the price of that and give them to people because this was such a cheap game that offered so much replayability, so much enjoyment and mechanics that I really hadn't seen or experienced, especially the combat side of how this worked for attacking and blocking.
Yeah.
It was very cool to me. It was very unique and something I hadn't experienced before. So cost satisfaction for me, way up there. I have it at a 5.
I have it at 5 also. This is a clear winner to me in terms of cost satisfaction. Like, as good as the game is, this to me might be the biggest boon for the game
is its value.
Is that it could have been a $50 or $60 game. It still would have been a good game, but it would have been a
cost satisfaction would have been lower.
Do we buy it? Is it something we're going to continue to replay? Because
this wasn't even a thought. It was we played it. They
say you can go over there for $25, and I'm like, yeah, my wallet's already open for that price. Like, you could just take it. I'm throwing it.
You didn't even need me to let me play this game. I could have just looked at it and bought it.
Yeah, I could have watched it, and you say, here you go, $25. I would have been like, yep, we're good.
Yeah,
thank you. Like, I'll go home and enjoy this now.
Yeah. So the cost we both are like, we're both on par with that one, and that's no surprise. We both were blown away. We still to this day don't understand. The value to that game was incredible. Deck builders, I'm a big fan of that. They have lots of value.
We have to mention about the value. Like, sure, we're talking about the game and the cards, but there were some good quality components in there. The scoring wheels were well done. The actual tokens that came with the game were well done.
Yeah. The cutouts, everything was... There was more than just 200... There's like over 200 cards.
For a $25 game, I would have expected the cards and like cheap pieces of plastic or cardboard or something like that. But there were good quality components with the game, which added a lot to it. A
spin wheel life counter.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things.
That was a nice touch. So overall, final score here, B, I have a 42 out of 50.
46. I got a big boy here.
Oh, you gave out those 5s again.
Yeah.
But...
Not where it matters.
But we really said, is this game cash or trash? This is cash. Spend your money. If you see this game and you don't have it, guys, pick up a copy.
This is
Please.
A game that
you will not regret it.
If you find for $40, not $25, I would still say pick it up. This is one that the right group of friends, you're playing it every time they come over.
This is a staple. It honestly is for the right card game players, and it doesn't matter whether you like deck builders or you like the CCGs, TCGs. If you like some mechanics from each, you will enjoy this game. Everybody will find something enjoyable about this game.
Not questioning that one. Great game, easy, quick to learn. Don't need to memorize any cards to play. That was a big one I have in my notes. because of the deck builder aspects, you never need to memorize. It's not like a CCG where you need to know what card does all the time.
Yeah.
This card, the card appears, you read it, you move on.
Yeah, you see what it is in the market, you decide whether it's good or bad. If your opponent picks it up, you've seen it. You know what's in his deck now.
Part of our friend groups, they're very either poor at reading all the way through things, or they take so long at playing CCG game or CCG style games because they need to read every single aspect to understand it and then apply that aspect. Where in this game, you don't need to. You get that fun CCG-like combat.
Yeah, and it's simple. Again, going back into the design and art of these games, is the cards don't have a lot of text to them. There's an attack aspect, a damage, and a text on an ability and a cost. Mm-hmm. Cost doesn't matter once you've purchased it, though, which is another great thing about the deck builder, is the resource system is only for purchasing. Once you have it in your deck, you play these cards left, right, and center. So there's no like, oh, how much is this? How much? What do I need? No, you play it and it just triggers and you do whatever it says. So here I have love the art, the clarity of the cards. The block with power was a very interesting concept because in this game, if you look at the rules, you can only block creatures if your power is equal to or greater than theirs. So there's no chump blocking in this game, which I really, really like because it's not annoying. Because
you play a good card, you get the reward of a good card unless your opponent matches.
In Eternal, once a card is attacked, it goes back into your discard. Once it's resolved its attack, it's gone unless it has an ability that says. So it's very unrewarding to have it blocked if it was able to be blocked by something that's like a 1/1 when you have a 6 cost creature.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at for equal blocks, which also means that if you buy something that's really powerful, your opponent's probably not going to be able to block that unless they also buy something really powerful or work around it through a different combo.
Which is part of the fun of the deck builders, because that may never happen, and you got to try and find out other ways to get around it.
And so that's what really, really rooted this game for me, was I liked that system. There wasn't anything in this game that was a feel-bad mechanic for me, which is a very pinnacle thing. A lot of games have those mechanics that feel bad as either the person doing it or the person receiving it.
And I have a caveat on that, is that in the starter decks, there's always 1 or 2 cards that are not great to use because they require all the mercenaries or something like that to be bought before they get their true effects.
The thrones, the late game cards. Yeah, you're right. Now that you mention that, there's that one feel bad mechanic.
I'd say there's 5 or 6 games you actually get to a point where you play that card its full effect. Otherwise, you just discard it all the time.
And they don't. Yeah, you're right. Thinking about it, the only tidbit as a designer that I would have recommended to them is have those cards have a dual cost ability. One that happens early game, one that happens late game. Because you're right, every starter deck of 11 cards has 2 cards that do absolutely nothing until something late game has been triggered. So you discard them. They're just basically I drew this, useless.
Yeah. But that's okay. I mean, an entire game, we say there's 2 cards that are a little bit more difficult to use, and the rest of the game is pretty dang good.
Yeah, really, when I'm looking at the units, there's nothing feel bad in there. But yeah, okay, so like I said, I'm a cash for this one, 100 through and through.
Yeah,
and for almost a 50 score, that better be a cash.
I'm not going to give someone a 46 out of 50 and say, you better trash this one. No, that's an easy cash for me.
Okay, so Eternal Chronicles of the Throne is pick up, boys.
Absolutely.
Find it when you can.
Go pick it up. Thank you for tuning in to the DWMC podcast, a Paragon Professional Services production. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any comments or concerns about what you have heard, send us an email, contact@paragonstudiosmb.com. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you consume your podcasts, and leave a comment with a 5-star review if you feel so inclined. For those of you watching on YouTube, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below.